Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back to your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Hedera and HBAR. So with that being said, let's just dive in and let's start off with the overall price chart. So we are sitting at just above 4.5 cents today. I just made a video talking actually about XRP. We've been seeing a lot of bullish tweets around XRP and the price chart of XRP. And just like in that video, I'm going to say the same thing in this video. It never hurts to have buy orders. I started to accumulate a lot more HBAR, especially during this time. I think anything under 10 cents is a pretty good area to look into. I mean, the all-time high from 10 cents is a 5x away, so that's not too bad at all, especially if you have been accumulating for the last couple months. As we do look at HBAR under 5 cents, again, it does scream, all right, let's just accumulate a little bit more. But we still have a few levels that I'm looking at for some very large buy orders to be placed, which is kind of rebuying at around the low of January, which is right under 4 cents. And then there's a few levels, right, going all the way back to about December of 2020 at about 3 cents. If we can see that level, that will be great as well. Again, I don't really look at, these assets going down to, certain levels as a bearish thing. I actually look at it very bullish because, again, I told you guys, I'm in this game for the long term. And when we look at this space and when we look at some of these assets like Hedera and what Hedera is doing, they are an absolute game changer and they are a force to be reckoned with, especially around the Web3 economy. So as we do look at a few of these assets, like in my opinion, if we look at like the top 10 or the top 15, I strongly believe that HBAR is a future top 10 project. And when we look at the top 10 or the top 15 projects in the last major bull run, most of them hit high, double-digit plus billion-dollar market caps. In this next major run-up, those market caps could very well be 20, 30, 40, 50 billion dollars. So I do believe that HBAR does have a very, very big future ahead of it. And as we look at that, why do I believe this? Why do I believe that Hedera is a giant outside of the ecosystem, outside of transactions and things like that? Well, it's because of the technology behind it as well. Now, with this in mind, talking about the ecosystem, it continues to expand. In my recent videos talking about Hedera, I told you guys, if you just constantly look at the HBAR Foundation's Twitter account, you could see developments happening all the time around the Web3 economy, especially with Hedera. We do see over here, the convergence of DLT and AI brings new value to business. We're pleased to bring W3C decentralized identity capabilities to Hedera, MetaMask for businesses to improve trust in data integrity. And yeah, this is with, I hope that I'm saying this name right, it's Tomb Tech. We do see we're excited to announce the launch of the Tomb Tech MetaMask Identity Snap for developers looking to build digital identifiers, DIDs, and verifiable credentials, VCs, on the Hedera network. And this is definitely going to change the game, especially around AI and things like that. We know that AI is becoming the big thing. It has constantly been something to look into. I think that AI is changing the way that business is done. It's also improving a lot of areas for those that are doing a lot of work online. It's actually making a lot of individuals' lives a lot smoother and a lot easier, especially around like, e-commerce and stuff. But I think that it's always exciting to see things like this that could help developers and help those major use cases come to life. As we look at the Web3 world and what Web3 is becoming, I think that these sort of developments are crucial, especially for the next step. I strongly believe that this is a step in the right direction around mass adoption of Web3 and Web3 technology. And I think that's all going to be spearheaded around, platforms like Hedera. And then also over here, this is with RAK Digital Assets Oasis. This is in the UAE. Like I said, I included this in a video recently, but this is, again, one of those major things around the grant program, which is a major collaboration to help the ecosystem continue to scale and also thrive. Again, what the HBAR Foundation has been doing around the grant program has been very, very large. We've seen a lot of the innovations happening on the network actually coming from the grant program. So I'm very excited for this to really go full force on Hedera. And then also just recently, Lumos Labs, demo day for the Hatch Web3 accelerator powered by the HBAR Foundation to build on Hedera is finally here. Shout out to our incubation partners, Builders Tribe. And this is with 8 startups with grants worth about roughly $150,000 worth of HBAR tokens. This is great to see. Listen, I personally love to see a lot more building and a lot more development happening on Hedera, and a lot of these grant programs are allowing that to become a reality. So this is very exciting. And then also recently, Accor, we talked about Accor. They're actually working closely with ToomTech. Like I said, with what ToomTech's doing, it's allowing these major innovations to happen on Hedera, and these are centered around the healthcare scene. So again, a lot of what we see around Hedera and a lot of those innovations that are happening are helping other projects on Hedera continue to grow and develop beyond what we already know about them. So I'm very excited to see that as well. And recently, I think a lot more people are finally realizing what Hedera is and how big Hedera will be. Recently, Hedera was the coin of the day over on Lunar Crush, and we do see that the social mentions were about roughly 786 posts, nothing too crazy there. Social engagement, 1.72 million. Social dominance, about roughly 0.3%. Twitter volume, 689 posts. Spam volume, about 162 posts. And then shared links, about 138 URLs. But nonetheless, we continue to see Hedera really kind of move up the ranks and become a lot bigger of a player around the space. Recently, they did celebrate 300,000 followers over on Twitter, and they only continue to grow. And, I think that going forward on in time, right now, there's not a ton of noise around Hedera on social media, but I do think that most of this market is practically dead, right? Like most of this market, there's not a ton of players within this market still today, like there was back in 2020 and 2021. So as we do continue to see this market kind of pick back up, we're going to start to see a huge inflow of outside individuals into the space, and they're going to be looking at projects like Hedera and what Hedera is doing. And, although I've talked about this as well, if we look at the statistics over on Archaeometrics, we could see that we're doing about roughly 1,500 TPS, and we're at about almost 13.5 billion transactions. Now, on another note, do I think that this is going to be very beneficial when those individuals come over? Yes. I've actually talked about this, and I don't mean to be rude or anything, but the retail sector loves hype and substance. Seeing these amounts of TPS and transactions on Hedera is going to be a very large selling point for hyping up the substance. And I think that this is going to be very beneficial for Hedera and also HBAR, and for anybody holding HBAR during that time. Because I believe that, very similar to ADA, a lot of these tokens are going to experience a very large inflow of those individuals investing and buying into what Hedera is doing. In the next major run-up, we could see a $2 to $4 plus HBAR, and I've talked about $3 to $6 is my main goal, so it's right on par with that. And again, I'm going to be very excited to see where Hedera leads in the next major bull run, because I do think that a lot has changed since 2020 and 2021, and I think all of you also see that as well. For those that have been in this game for a little bit of time, it's only a matter of time, right? And I've talked about it around Hedera. I've talked about it around a lot of these tokens, like even Casper and a few other players. What we are seeing is the evolution of technology within the space. At first you'll see a lot of these hyped up tokens like Solana and ADA and even the meme coins. All of them will do great moves. I've talked about it in the past as well, like Dogecoin. If we look at Dogecoin, most people thought Dogecoin was never going to do anything, and then all of a sudden, boom, it goes to 70 cents. Like, you can't predict anything around what comes into the space, because once we see hype and once we start to see narratives being played out around the space, these tokens reach unimaginable heights. So, I don't say anything's impossible around the space. As we look at Hedera today, I do know that Hedera is undervalued. I've talked about it many times in the past. I do think that this is extremely undervalued. As we look at HBAR, everyone's always saying like, oh, what about the token supply? What about the token supply? They're gonna, dump a whole bunch of tokens onto the market. Honestly, I can't wait until all of these tokens are in supply, right? Because when we look at what's happening around the supply of HBAR, it has been one of the biggest pieces of FUD forever. I honestly hope that the 50 billion is out there by the time that we really start to pick up traction in this space. Again, 50 billion is not that crazy of an amount of tokens. I said it, like $100 billion market cap for HBAR would be $2, even going off of fully diluted, which is totally fine with me, because I think that that is something that's pretty fair. Again, 100 billion is not that easy to reach, though. We know this from the last major cycle run. A lot of the tokens did not hit a $100 billion plus market cap. Most of them hit anywhere between 25 to about 50 billion. If we look at HBAR and if we look at the future around the space and all of the substance and the ecosystem and how much Hedera has thrived within the last couple of years, I do think that they're only going to continue to do so. If we look at valuations for HBAR and we look at, where Hedera is today, and we go and look at where the next major cycle could take us market cap wise for this entire space, everyone's looking at $5 to $10 trillion. I do think that anywhere between 50 billion to about $100 billion of market cap for Hedera is a pretty good area to look at. Again, maybe I'm thinking a little bit, not so conservative about that, but I've been looking at HBAR and I've always said, $3 to $6, I'll take 2 to 4, right? 2 to 4 is totally fine. Even if we go just to the all-time high, like I said, all-time high from today's price is about a 10x. A 10x is something that is still very, very good, especially if you are investing a decent amount of money. You should never just have your eyes set on one, price. Price predictions, they're a dime a dozen, right? Anyone can make them, anyone can say them. The problem is, right, is that if we look at some of these higher targets, we don't know if it's going to go to these values. But we do know, and we can base off of what we did in the past run up to about 50 cents, we could say, okay, well, maybe if we, 2x from there. If we 2x from there, it's $1 for HBAR. $1 for HBAR is a 20x from today's price, or over a 20x from today's price, which I'm totally fine with. Again, with all of the substance that we have around HBAR, I do think that $1 is something that will happen. I don't think that $1 is too crazy either. Fully diluted, it's a $50 billion market cap. With everything happening around Hedera, with the growth of Hedera, with these grants that are helping the ecosystem thrive and grow, I think $1 is a pretty safe long-term bet that HBAR will go to. Of course, those higher valuations, I do believe that they will happen in time. To me personally, as we look at HBAR, I think that $1 is a very safe bet. Even 75 cents to $1 is pretty decent. But again, I have my eye set on 2 to 4. 3 to 6 has always been my long-term goal. And I do believe that those targets will be met. But again, we have to wait to see where HBAR is during the next major cycle run. But with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. So it's up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.